Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we'll be looking at some incredible discoveries from the worlds of astrophysics, archaeology, and health science.
It's fascinating how these seemingly unrelated topics all kind of connect back to the idea of challenging our assumptions about,
Yeah,
how we see things, how we interpret the past, and even how we approach our own well-being.
yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's start with these black hole light echoes. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie,
Mhm.
but it's a real thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, imagine a cosmic funhouse mirror, except, the mirror is a black hole. So you see black holes have such intense gravity that they warp the fabric of space-time around them.
Okay,
And because of that, light doesn't travel in a straight line. When it gets close, it bends.
okay. I think I'm with you so far.
Yeah.
So the light kind of like takes a detour around the black hole?
Exactly. And that detour means some of the light takes longer to reach us, which creates, an echo effect.
Hmm.
And astrophysicists are actually using these echoes to study black holes in more detail than ever before.
That's incredible.
Mm.
But why is it such a big deal? What can we learn from these light echoes?
Well, the echoes can help us precisely measure a black hole's mass and spin, which are, key to understanding how galaxies evolve. Think of black holes as the anchors of galaxies. Their properties influence everything from star formation to the galaxy's overall structure.
Wow. So by studying these echoes, we're essentially getting a glimpse into the engine that drives entire galaxies.
And not just that, if we can measure those echoes accurately enough, we might finally be able to prove or disprove Einstein's theory of relativity in extreme conditions. Imagine rewriting, the physics textbooks.
Hold on. Are you saying we could potentially rewrite our understanding of the universe based on these light echoes?
It's a real possibility. And to do this, they're using some incredible technology like the Event Horizon Telescope. They're even exploring a future mission with a telescope on Earth working in tandem with one in space.
Oh.
Talk about commitment.
A space telescope dedicated to black hole echoes. That's mind-blowing.
It speaks to the importance of this research. Black holes are still shrouded in mystery, but this new technique is bringing us closer to unlocking their secrets.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's enough mind-bending physics for now. Let's move on to something a bit more down to earth literally. We're talking about Pompeii, the Roman city frozen in time by a volcanic eruption. I've always been fascinated by Pompeii. What new secrets has ancient DNA revealed about the people who lived there?
Well, you think you know Pompeii from the plaster casts, but DNA analysis is painting a completely different picture. We're realizing that many of our assumptions about these people based solely on visuals and proximity were just plain wrong.
Give me an example. What kind of assumptions are we talking about?
Take relationships, for instance. There was this cast that everyone thought depicted a mother and child, but DNA testing revealed they were completely unrelated. In another case, a pair thought to be sisters or maybe a mother and daughter. Well, it turns out at least one of them was male.
Wait, so the way we interpreted those casts based on how they looked and who was near whom might be totally off.
Yeah, it highlights how easily our interpretations of the past can be swayed by appearances, and Pompeii is the perfect example of how science is helping us, re-examine history with fresh eyes.
It's a good reminder that history is constantly being rewritten as new evidence emerges. And this isn't just about challenging assumptions about individuals, right? The DNA is telling us something bigger about Pompeii as a whole, isn't it?
Absolutely. The genetic data is showing us that Pompeii was incredibly diverse and cosmopolitan, with many inhabitants descended from immigrants from the Eastern Mediterranean. It really underscores how interconnected the Roman Empire truly was.
So by studying the DNA of these individuals, we're not just learning about their lives, but also gaining a broader understanding of Roman society and culture as a whole. It's like piecing together a giant, incredibly complex puzzle.
Exactly. Each new piece of information, whether it's a skeleton, a piece of pottery, or a strand of DNA, helps us, understand the past. And sometimes it completely changes the picture we thought we had.
Okay, before we move on, I have to ask about that golden bracelet.
Yeah.
You mentioned a cast of an adult wearing one initially thought to be a woman. Was that identification wrong too?
Yes. DNA analysis showed that the individual was male, and this challenges our modern assumptions about gender and adornment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We often associate jewelry with femininity, but, this finding suggests things might have been much more fluid back then.
That's a fascinating point. It seems like every time we dig a little deeper, we find more nuance and complexity, which honestly is what makes history so captivating, right?
Absolutely. The past is never as simple as it seems.
Speaking of challenging assumptions, let's move on to something many people assume about exercise, that it has to take a long time to be effective. I hear there's a new study with good news for those of us who are always short on time.
If you're struggling to fit exercise into your busy schedule, this one's for you. A recent study found that just 5 minutes of intense exercise per day could significantly lower your blood pressure.
Wait, just 5 minutes?
Mm.
Really? That seems too good to be true. I always thought you needed at least 30 minutes to an hour to make a difference.
It's a common misconception. This research highlights the power of intensity over duration. We're not talking about leisurely strolls here. Think short bursts of uphill walking, stair climbing, running, or cycling activities that really get your heart rate up.
So it's not just about the amount of time you exercise, but also the effort you put into it.
I like it.
5 minutes, even on your busiest day, seems totally doable.
Exactly. And the study was incredibly thorough. They analyzed data from thousands of people wearing activity trackers, so the results are pretty compelling.
But what's the connection between these short bursts of exercise and blood pressure? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah. Well, it turns out these short bursts trigger specific hormonal responses that have a lasting effect on how your blood vessels function, helping to regulate your blood pressure more effectively.
So by pushing your heart rate up for even a short period, you're giving your cardiovascular system a powerful workout that has lasting benefits. It's almost like a shortcut to better health.
You could say that, and the research suggests that even replacing a few minutes of sitting with these intense bursts can make a measurable difference. It's not about finding a whole hour to hit the gym. It's about finding opportunities for short, intense bursts of activity throughout your day.
That feels so much more achievable. Small changes, big impact. I love it.
Exactly. In fact, the study even suggested that if people swapped out just 20 to 27 minutes of sitting for this type of exercise, we could potentially see a significant reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease across the entire population.
Wow, now those are some serious results. So 5 minutes is a great start, but even more is even better. It all comes down to getting that heart pumping. I think we've all learned something valuable today.
It really is remarkable how seemingly small changes can have such a, significant impact on our health. And speaking of remarkable changes, let's talk about a potential game changer in the fight against climate change.
Ooh, this sounds intriguing. What are we diving into now?
Imagine using readily available technology to transform carbon dioxide, the very thing contributing to, global warming, into valuable resources.
Wait, are you serious? Turning CO2 into something useful? That sounds like science fiction.
It might sound futuristic, but the science is very real. Researchers are combining two existing technologies: thermoelectric generators, which create electricity from temperature differences, and electrolyzers, which use electricity to break down substances. In this case, they're using them to break down CO2.
Okay, so they're harnessing temperature differences to power the conversion of CO2. That's pretty clever.
Hmm.
But where do these temperature differences come from?
They can come from a variety of sources. Here on Earth, geothermal installations provide a great example. There's a significant temperature difference between the hot pipes returning from underground and the cooler surface temperature. That difference can be harnessed to power both the generator and the electrolyzer.
So instead of just using geothermal energy for electricity, we could also use it to create valuable chemicals from CO2. Talk of a win-win.
Exactly. And the potential applications are even more mind-blowing when we look beyond Earth.
You're talking about space, friend.
Precisely. Mars has a thin atmosphere composed mostly of CO2, and it experiences huge temperature swings between day and night. Imagine using a thermoelectric generator to capture that energy difference and then using it to convert Martian CO2 into fuel or building materials. It's a key step towards self-sufficiency in space exploration.
That would be incredible. We could essentially use Martian resources to help sustain a human presence on the planet, making missions far more sustainable and cost-effective.
It's a game changer. We wouldn't have to rely so heavily on shipping resources from Earth. This technology, using readily available resources, could revolutionize how we approach space exploration and resource management.
It's amazing to think that solutions to some of our biggest challenges might be right under our noses, just waiting for us to connect the dots. It makes you wonder what other possibilities are out there.
Absolutely. Sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries come from combining existing technologies in new and innovative ways.
Speaking of groundbreaking discoveries, let's talk about what happens inside our brains when we watch a movie. I have to admit, I'm a bit nervous about this one. Are you going to tell me my brain turns to mush while I'm binging my favorite shows?
Not at all. In fact, watching a movie is a surprisingly complex cognitive process. Your brain is working hard to make sense of the narrative, the visuals, the sounds. It's a
Right.
symphony of neural activity.
Really? I thought it was supposed to be relaxing. So what's going on in there?
Well, neuroscientists have been using fMRI scans to study brain activity during movie watching. They found that different brain networks light up depending on what's happening on screen. For example, certain networks are involved in recognizing faces, processing language, interpreting movement, and even deciphering social cues.
So different parts of our brains are engaged depending on what we're seeing and hearing. That makes sense. But is there anything that surprised researchers?
One fascinating finding is the interplay between executive control domains and more specialized brain regions.
Okay, break that down for me. What exactly are executive control domains?
Think of them as the CEOs of your brain. They're responsible for planning problem-solving, decision-making, and focus. They help you make sense of the world around you. What's interesting is that when a movie scene is difficult to follow or ambiguous, these executive control domains become more active. We're essentially working harder to understand what's going on.
So if a movie has a lot of twists and turns, our brains have to work overtime to keep up.
Exactly. But on the flip side, when a movie is straightforward and easy to follow, the executive control domains take a back seat, and the specialized regions, like those involved in language processing, become more dominant. It's like your brain is constantly adjusting its gears based on the complexity of the film.
It's fascinating. So the next time I'm watching a movie, I'll be thinking about all the different parts of my brain working together to create the experience.
Mhm.
It makes you wonder if that explains why people have such different tastes in movies.
You've hit on a crucial point. Every brain is unique. So the way we experience a movie is shaped by our own individual wiring. Some brains might be wired to enjoy fast-paced action and complex plots, while others might prefer dialogue-heavy dramas or comedies.
That makes a lot of sense. It's all about finding the right kind of stimulation for your brain.
Yeah.
Speaking of stimulation and how life finds a way, let's talk about a story of resilience and recovery that truly blew me away.
Ah, yes, a story that demonstrates the incredible power of nature to heal and adapt even in the face of extraordinary challenges.
Exactly. We're talking about Mount St. Helens and the remarkable comeback of life after its devastating eruption in 1980. It was one of the most destructive volcanic events in U.S. history, reshaping the landscape, leveling forests, and sending a massive plume of ash into the atmosphere. It's hard to imagine anything surviving such a catastrophic event.
The immediate aftermath was indeed devastating. But you know, nature has an incredible ability to bounce back. And in this case, a tiny creature played a pivotal role in the mountain's recovery: the pocket gopher.
Pocket gophers? Those little burrowing rodents. How could they possibly make a difference in the face of such widespread destruction?
Their burrowing habits turned out to be exactly what the devastated landscape needed. Their tunnels aerated the soil, allowing water and nutrients to penetrate. This created favorable conditions for plant roots to establish themselves. They were essentially tilling the soil, even though it was covered in volcanic ash.
Wow, so these little creatures were unknowingly helping to restore the ecosystem. It's like they were tiny gardeners working tirelessly to bring life back to the mountain.
And not only that, but the gophers brought up seeds and roots from deeper underground, helping to reseed the devastated area. They were instrumental in jumpstarting the recovery process.
That's incredible. It's a beautiful example of how even seemingly insignificant creatures can play a vital role in their environment, and it highlights the interconnectedness of nature.
It's a powerful reminder that nature often has its own solutions, even to seemingly insurmountable challenges. Sometimes it's the smallest creatures that make the biggest difference.
I love that perspective. It's a story that gives you hope, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It demonstrates the remarkable resilience of life and the interconnectedness of all living things.
This deep dive has been a whirlwind of fascinating discoveries. From the mind-boggling physics of black holes to the unexpected heroes of ecological recovery, it's amazing how much we're still learning about our universe and ourselves.
It's a reminder that there's always something new to discover, always a new perspective to explore.
Exactly. And speaking of new discoveries, let's talk about the latest findings in the world of artificial intelligence. Get ready to be blown away by the incredible advancements in this field.
Artificial intelligence, it's a field that's advancing at an incredible pace, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
It seems like every day there's a new breakthrough in AI. It's both exciting and a little bit intimidating, you know? So what's got you particularly fired up in the world of AI right now?
Well, one area that's really captured my attention is the development of AI systems that can not only understand and respond to human language, but also generate creative text formats like poems, codes, scripts, musical pieces, email, letters, etc. It's pretty remarkable.
Wow, AI writing poetry. I mean, I've seen AI generate text before, but it's usually pretty basic and robotic sounding. Are you saying these new systems are actually creative?
Yeah, it's not just about mimicking human language anymore. These advanced AI models are trained on massive data sets of text and code learning patterns and structures that allow them to produce original and often surprisingly creative content.
So they're not just copying what they've seen before, they're actually coming up with new ideas. That's mind-blowing. Can you give me an example of what this AI-generated content looks like?
Absolutely. Imagine an AI that can compose a sonnet in the style of Shakespeare or write a catchy pop song with meaningful lyrics. We're seeing AI generate code that's more efficient than what human programmers can create. Some AI systems are even being used to write scripts for movies and TV shows.
Wait, AI-ridden movies? That's both fascinating and a little bit unsettling, to be honest. What does this mean for human creativity? Are we going to be replaced by robots?
That's a big question and one that sparks a lot of debate. I think it's important to view AI as a tool that can augment and enhance human creativity rather than replace it entirely. Imagine a world where writers collaborate with AI to brainstorm ideas, overcome writer's block, or explore new creative avenues.
I like that perspective. AI is a creative partner, not a replacement. It opens up so many possibilities. So what are some of the potential benefits of using AI for creative tasks?
Well, for one, it could democratize access to creative tools. Imagine aspiring writers or musicians who might not have the resources for traditional training or equipment being able to utilize AI to bring their ideas to life.
That's a great point. It could level the playing field and empower people to express themselves in new ways. Are there any downsides or potential risks associated with AI-generated content?
It's crucial to be mindful of potential ethical concerns. For example, ensuring that AI-generated content doesn't perpetuate biases or spread misinformation is paramount. We need to develop clear guidelines and safeguards as this technology continues to evolve.
It sounds like we need to be thoughtful about how we integrate AI into our creative processes, making sure it's used responsibly and ethically. This is definitely a topic we'll need to revisit as AI continues to advance.
Absolutely. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The possibilities with AI are seemingly endless, and it's an area that's sure to keep us on the edge of our seats for years to come.
Well, it's been an incredible journey exploring these groundbreaking discoveries with you today. From the cosmic echoes of black holes to the resilience of nature and the mind-boggling potential of artificial intelligence, it's clear that we live in a world full of wonder and possibility.
It's been a pleasure diving deep into these topics with you. It's a reminder that there's always something new to learn, always a new perspective to consider.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What surprised you most today? What new insights are you taking away from this deep dive? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the fascinating world around us. Until next time, keep those minds curious and stay tuned for more adventures in discovery.